The galaxy had known peace for 300 years. The Galactic Council, made up of 12 different species, had worked together to build trade routes, share technology, and keep order among the stars. But peace made them soft. Peace made them forget what it meant to fight. Commander Zara Chen stood on the bridge of the human battleship Thunder's Call and watched the emergency transmission play for the 5th time. The footage showed a Velari colony world, a peaceful planet of farmers and artists. The Velari were gentle beings with silver skin and large purple eyes. They had never known war. Their species had evolved past violence millions of years ago. The footage showed their cities burning. Strange black ships filled the sky, ships that no one in the council had ever seen before. The invaders moved across the planet like a plague, destroying everything in their path. The transmission ended with a Velari elder looking into the camera, his purple eyes filled with terror. "Please," the elder said, "someone help us. They are killing everyone. They do not speak. They do not negotiate. They only destroy." Zara turned off the screen and looked at her crew. They were a mix of humans and other species, all of them trained warriors. The humans made up most of the ship's combat teams. This was not by accident. Among all the species in the Galactic Council, only the humans still kept large military forces. "How long until we reach the Velari system?" Zara asked. 6 hours, Commander, replied Lieutenant Park, her navigation officer. 6 hours. Zara knew that 6 hours could mean the difference between saving lives and arriving too late. She had seen the speed at which the invaders worked. They had destroyed 3 Velari cities in less than a day. "Push the engines harder," Zara ordered. "I want us there in 4 hours." The Thunder's Call was one of Earth's newest warships. It carried 2,000 soldiers, 300 fighters, and enough weapons to level a small moon. But Zara knew that one ship might not be enough. The Council had received distress calls from 6 different systems in the past week. Whatever these invaders were, they were everywhere at once. Her communication officer, a young Corvan named Tix, looked up from his station. The Corvans were small beings with blue-green scales and 4 arms. They were excellent with technology but had no instinct for combat. "Commander, we are receiving a message from the Council. They want to know our status." "Tell them we are responding to the Velari distress call," Zara said, "and ask them what other ships are being sent." Tix worked his console for a moment, then his face fell. "Commander, they say no other ships are available. The Thraxian fleet is protecting their home system. The Melori have pulled back to guard their colony worlds. The Corvans—" He paused and looked ashamed. "The Corvans have voted to hide." Zara felt a cold anger build in her chest. The Galactic Council was made up of 12 species, and in the face of true danger, 11 of them were running away. Only the humans were moving toward the fight. "What about the Velari Defense Forces?" she asked. Tix shook his head. "They have none, Commander. The Velari have not had weapons for over 1,000,000 years. They thought they would never need them again." Zara remembered her history lessons back on Earth. Humans had thought the same thing once. After the Third World War, many people believed that humanity had finally learned its lesson. They believed that war was behind them. But humans were different from the other species. Humans never forgot how to fight. Even during the longest peace, humans kept their warriors ready. It was something in their nature, something written deep in their genes. "Contact Earth Command," Zara said. "Tell them we need every ship that can fly. Tell them we are facing an extinction-level threat." The next 4 hours passed slowly. Zara used the time to prepare her troops. She gathered her officers in the war room and showed them everything they knew about the enemy. It was not much. "We are calling them the Devourers," Zara said. "We do not know where they came from or what they want. We only know that they destroy everything they touch. They do not take prisoners. They do not accept surrender. They burn worlds down to bare rock and then move on to the next target." Captain Marcus Cole, the leader of the ship's ground forces, studied the images on the screen. He was a large man with dark skin and gray hair at his temples. He had been fighting since he was 18 years old, first on Earth and then among the stars. "What do we know about their technology?" Marcus asked. "Their ships are fast and heavily armed," Zara replied. "Their ground forces appear to be some kind of biological construct. They are not machines and they are not natural creatures. They seem to be grown for war." "Grown for war," Marcus repeated. "Someone made them." "That is our best guess. Somewhere out there, someone or something created the Devourers as a weapon. Whether they are still controlled by their creators or have gone rogue, we do not know." A young officer named Sarah Wung raised her hand. She was the ship's chief engineer, responsible for keeping everything running. "Commander, if these things were created as weapons, then there must be a way to stop them. Every weapon has a weakness." "You are right," Zara said, "and our job is to find that weakness. But until we do, we fight with everything we have." The ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel and the Velari system appeared before them. What they saw made even the veteran soldiers gasp. The planet's atmosphere was filled with dark clouds of smoke. Fires burned across entire continents, and in orbit around the dying world, a fleet of black ships waited. "Count the enemy vessels," Zara ordered. "I count 47 enemy ships, Commander," Tix reported. "All of them are larger than us." 47 ships against one. The odds were impossible. Any other species would have turned and run. But Zara was human, and humans did not run from fights that mattered. "Open a channel to Earth Command," Zara said. "Tell them what we are facing. Then launch all fighters and prepare for combat." "Commander," Tix said carefully, "we cannot win this battle." Zara smiled, but there was no joy in it. "Maybe not, but we can buy time. There are still Velari on that planet, hiding in shelters, hoping someone will come to save them. We are going to be that someone." The Thunder's call moved forward, alone against an armada of death. On the planet below, millions of Velari huddled in darkness and prayed for a miracle. They did not know that help was coming. They did not know that a single human ship was about to challenge the impossible. And far across the galaxy, in the halls of the Galactic Council, the other species watched their screens and wondered if they were seeing the end of everything. They had run away, but there was nowhere left to run. If the humans fell, they would be next. The battle for Velari Prime was about to begin. The first wave of Devourer fighters poured out of the black ships like a swarm of insects. There were hundreds of them, each one a twisted blend of metal and organic matter. They moved with terrible speed, heading straight for the Thunder's call. "All batteries, open fire," Zara commanded. The human warship lit up with weapons fire. Plasma cannons, missile launchers, and energy weapons all fired at once. The void of space became a storm of destruction. Devourer fighters exploded by the dozens, but more kept coming. Captain Cole led the first squadron of human fighters into the chaos. His voice came through the communication system, calm despite the hell around him. "This is Eagle Squadron. We are engaging the enemy. They are fast, but their armor is weak. Aim for the joints where the organic parts connect to the metal." The human pilots fought with skill born from centuries of war. They ducked and weaved through the enemy formation, taking down fighter after fighter. But for every enemy they destroyed, two more seemed to take its place. On the bridge, Zara watched the battle unfold. Her ship was taking hits now, the Devourer weapons burning through shields and armor. But the Thunder's call kept fighting, kept moving forward, kept pushing toward the planet. "We need to reach those survivors," Zara said. "Get me a landing zone." The sensors officer found a spot on the planet's surface where life signs still registered. It was a small city in the mountains, protected somewhat by the natural terrain. The Devourers had not reached it yet. "Prepare the dropships," Zara ordered. "We are going down there." Commander Chen knew that leaving her ship during a battle was against every rule she had been taught. But she also knew that rules meant nothing if everyone died. Someone needed to reach those survivors and organize an evacuation. She handed control of the Thunder's call to her second-in-command and made her way to the dropship bay. Captain Cole met her there with 200 soldiers, all of them ready for ground combat. "You should stay on the ship, Commander," Cole said. "The ship can handle itself for a while," Zara replied. "Those people down there need someone who can make decisions fast. They need a leader." The dropships launched into the battle-torn sky. Below them, the Velari world burned, but ahead in those distant mountains there was still hope. The humans were coming to save what could be saved, and even if they all died trying, they would show the galaxy that there was still someone willing to fight. The dropships broke through the smoke-filled atmosphere and descended toward the mountain city. From above, Zara could see the Velari buildings, elegant towers of crystal and light that had stood for thousands of years. Some of them had already been damaged by falling debris, but most remained standing. The ships landed in a wide plaza near the city center. Zara stepped out first, her weapon ready. The air smelled of smoke and fear. Around her, the human soldiers spread out in defensive positions. And then the Velari appeared. They came out of their building slowly, their silver faces streaked with tears. They looked at the humans with a mix of hope and disbelief. An elderly Velari approached Zara. His purple eyes were tired but grateful. "You came," he whispered. "We did not think anyone would come." Zara placed a hand on his shoulder. "We are here now, and we are going to get you out of here." The elder shook his head sadly. "There is no escape. The destroyers control the sky. They will kill us all." "Not while we are still breathing," Zara said firmly. "Now tell me how many survivors are in this city. We need to start moving them to the dropships." The galaxy had abandoned the Velari, but humanity had not, and that made all the difference in the world. The evacuation of the mountain city took 3 hours. 3 hours of chaos, fear, and desperate hope. The human soldiers worked without rest, guiding thousands of Velari survivors toward the dropships. The silver-skinned aliens moved in a daze, many of them carrying small children or helping the elderly. Zara stood at the edge of the plaza, watching the sky. The battle above continued. She could see flashes of light through the smoke, the Thunder's call still fighting against impossible odds. Every minute the ship survived was another minute for the evacuation. Captain Cole came to stand beside her. His face was grim. "We have loaded 6,000 survivors so far," he reported. "But there are more coming in from the surrounding areas. Word has spread that there are ships here." "How many more?" "Thousands, maybe tens of thousands. They are walking through the mountains to reach us." Zara felt her heart sink. The dropships could not hold that many. They would need more time, more resources, and above them the Thunder's call was running out of both. "Contact the ship," Zara said. "Tell them we need more dropships. Tell them to send everything they have." The next wave of dropships arrived an hour later, but so did the Devourers. The black ships had finally noticed the evacuation. A squadron of enemy fighters broke away from the main battle and headed for the planet. "Incoming," someone shouted. The human soldiers opened fire as the Devourer craft streaked across the sky. Energy weapons lit up the air. 2 enemy fighters went down, crashing into the mountains, but the others made it through, dropping their deadly cargo before pulling away. Devourer ground forces hit the plaza like a rain of nightmares. They were creatures of terrible design, standing 7 feet tall with bodies made of twisted metal and poolsing organic matter. They had no eyes, just smooth black faces. They had no mouths, yet they screamed with a sound that seemed to come from everywhere at once. The humans formed a defensive line in front of the civilians. Weapons fire erupted across the plaza. The Devourers were tough, absorbing multiple hits before going down. But the humans were skilled, aiming for the weak points that Captain Cole had identified earlier. Zara fired her rifle into the chest of an advancing devourer. The creature staggered but kept coming. She fired again, this time hitting the joint where its arm connected to its torso. The arm fell away and the creature collapsed. "Keep them back," she shouted. "Protect the civilians." The battle raged for what felt like hours but was really only minutes. The humans held their line, refusing to give ground. When a soldier fell, another stepped forward to take their place. When weapons ran dry, they switched to backup arms or used anything they could find. Finally, the last devourer dropped. The plaza fell silent except for the moans of the wounded and the crying of frightened children. Cole walked through the aftermath, checking on his troops. They had lost 23 soldiers. 50 more were wounded. It was a heavy price, but they had protected the evacuation. "More will come," Cole said quietly to Zara. "That was just a small force. When they realize what we are doing here, they will send everything." "Then we need to move faster," Zara replied. "Get those ships loaded. We leave no one behind." The next few hours became a race against time. The humans worked with desperate speed, loading survivors into every available ship. The Velari helped where they could, though most of them had never done physical labor in their lives. They were learning fast. A young Velari named Kira found Zara during a brief pause in the loading. Kira was different from the others. There was a fire in her purple eyes, a determination that Zara recognized. "I want to help fight," Kira said. "Teach me how to use a weapon." Zara looked at her carefully. "Your people have not fought for 1,000,000 years. Are you sure you want to break that tradition?" "My tradition is dying," Kira replied. "My family is dead. My city is gone. If I am going to die, I want to die fighting like your people do." Zara handed her a small pistol. "It is simple. Point at the enemy, pull the trigger. Do not stop until they fall." Kira took the weapon with trembling hands, but her eyes were steady. "Thank you, human. I will not waste this chance." Word spread through the survivors. Other Velari came forward asking for weapons. They were frightened and untrained, but they were also angry. For the first time in 1,000,000 years, the Velari were ready to fight for their survival. The humans gave them what weapons they could spare and taught them the basics. It was not much, but it was something. Every defender mattered. Above the planet, the Thunder's call was failing. The ship had taken too much damage. Its shields were gone, its weapons systems were failing, and fires burned through multiple decks. But the crew kept fighting, kept the enemy focused on them instead of the evacuation below. The second officer, Lieutenant Park, had taken command when communications with Commander Chen were cut. She stood on a bridge filled with smoke and falling debris, giving orders with calm authority. "Concentrate all remaining power to the forward weapons," she ordered. "If we are going down, we are taking as many of them with us as we can." The Thunder's call made its final charge, driving straight into the heart of the enemy fleet. Its weapons blazed one last time, destroying 3 Devourer ships before a massive explosion tore through its reactor core. On the planet below, Zara saw the distant flash of light. She knew what it meant. Her ship was gone, her crew was dead, and there was no one left between the Devourers and the evacuation. "We need to leave now," she said. "Everyone get on the ships." The last dropships lifted off just as the Devourer fleet turned its attention to the planet. The black ships descended through the atmosphere, hunting for survivors. But the evacuation was already complete. The dropships scattered in different directions, using the planet's geography to hide from enemy sensors. Zara's dropship carried 300 Velari, packed in so tight they could barely move. The pilot flew through mountain canyons and storm clouds, dodging enemy fire, pushing the engines to their limits. "Where are we going?" Cole asked. "There is a small moon in this system," Zara replied. "It has caves, natural shelters. We hide there and wait for reinforcements." "What if reinforcements do not come?" Zara did not have an answer for that. She only knew that they had to survive. They had to keep these people alive, because if they did not, the Velari would be the first species to be completely erased by the Devourers, and they would not be the last. The dropships reached the moon and disappeared into its cave systems. Above them, the Devourers finished destroying everything on Velari Prime. The beautiful planet became a dead world, its cities reduced to ash, its forests turned to desert. But 10,000 Velari had escaped. 10,000 survivors, protected by a handful of humans who refused to give up. It was not much, but it was hope. And in the darkness of that moon, humans and Velari waited together for whatever came next. The caves of the small moon became a home for the survivors. It was cold and dark, but it was safe. The Devourers had not found them. For now, that was enough. Zara organized the survivors into groups. The humans handled security, patrolling the cave entrances and keeping watch for enemy scouts. The Velari handled everything else. They were surprisingly capable once they got over their initial shock. They set up water collection systems, organized food distribution, and even created small gardens using seeds they had brought from home. But the situation was desperate. They had limited supplies, limited weapons, and no way to contact the rest of the galaxy. The Devourers had destroyed all communication satellites in the system. For all they knew, no one was coming to help. On the fifth day, Captain Cole called a meeting of the human officers. They gathered in a small chamber deep in the caves, away from the Velari. "We need to talk about reality," Cole said. "We have enough food for maybe 2 weeks. Water is not a problem, but medical supplies are running low, and if the Devourers find us—" "They will find us eventually," said Lieutenant Chen, a young officer who had survived the Thunder's call crash. "We cannot stay hidden forever." "Then we need to reach someone," Zara said. "We need to get a message out." "How?" Cole asked. "The nearest communication station is 3 star systems away. We have 1 damaged dropship that might be able to make the journey, but that would mean leaving most of our people undefended." The room fell silent. Everyone knew what Cole was really saying. Someone would have to volunteer for what was almost certainly a suicide mission. Sarah Wang, the engineer who had survived by hiding in the Thunder's call cargo bay during the battle, spoke up. "I can fly the dropship. I have been working on repairs. It is not perfect, but it should hold together long enough." "You cannot go alone," Zara said. "I will go with her," said Kira. The Velari woman had been learning from the humans for days now. She was no soldier, but she was brave. "My people need help. I should be the one to ask for it." Zara looked at them both. Wang was an engineer, not a pilot. Kira was a civilian who had never left her planet before. Sending them on this mission was almost cruel. But there was no other choice. "Prepare the ship," Zara said. "You leave at nightfall." The dropship launched from a hidden cave entrance, its engines barely making a sound. Wang had done good work. The ship slipped into space and headed for the system's outer edge, where it could safely jump to faster-than-light travel. The Devourers did not notice. They were too busy searching the planet's surface, looking for survivors who were not there. Wang and Kira flew in silence for hours. The small ship was cramped and uncomfortable, designed for short trips, not interstellar travel. But they pushed on, knowing that the lives of 10,000 people depended on them. "Tell me about your world," Wang said, trying to pass the time. "What was it like before the attack?" Kira's purple eyes grew distant. "It was beautiful. We lived in harmony with nature. We had no crime, no poverty, no war. Our greatest concerns were art and philosophy. We spent our days creating beauty and our nights discussing the meaning of existence." "It sounds like paradise." "It was, and we thought it would last forever." Kira paused. "We were wrong." The ship reached the jump point and disappeared into faster-than-light space. Behind them, the Devourers continued their search. Ahead of them, the galaxy waited. 3 days later, Wang and Kira arrived at a Thraxian border station. The Thraxians were a warrior species, one of the few besides humans who maintained military forces. They were tall and insect-like, with hard shells and multiple limbs. The border guards were suspicious at first. A damaged human dropship carrying a human engineer and a Velari civilian was not something they saw every day. But when Wang showed them the footage from Velari Prime, their attitude changed. "This is worse than we thought," said the guard commander, a Thraxian named Krakes. "We knew the enemy was dangerous, but this is genocide." "We need help," Wang said. "There are 10,000 survivors hidden on a moon. They will die without support." Krakes nodded slowly. "I will contact my superiors, but I warn you, the Thraxian High Command has been debating what to do about these invaders. Some want to fight, others want to retreat and protect our own territory." "If you retreat, they will come for you next," Kira said. "They will not stop, they will destroy everyone." The Thraxian looked at her for a long moment. Then he picked up his communication device and began speaking rapidly in his own language. Word spread quickly. The footage from Velari Prime was transmitted across the galaxy. The other species saw what the Devourers had done, saw the dead cities and the burning forests. And for the first time, they began to understand what they were really facing. This was not a war that could be avoided. This was not an enemy that could be negotiated with. This was extinction, coming for them all. The Galactic Council called an emergency session. Representatives from all 12 species gathered to discuss the threat. The debate was long and bitter. The Melori wanted to keep hiding. They argued that perhaps the Devourers would be satisfied with the worlds they had already destroyed. Perhaps if everyone stayed quiet, the storm would pass. The Corvans agreed with the Melori. They proposed building massive underground shelters where their people could wait out the invasion. But the human representative, Ambassador David Park, stood and spoke with fire in his voice. "There is no hiding from this," he said. "The Devourers are not a storm that will pass. They are a fire that will consume everything. If we do not stand together now, we will fall separately later." "The humans always want to fight," said the Melori representative, a tall being with flowing white hair. "It is all you know." "Yes," Park replied. "It is, and right now that is exactly what you need. We are warriors, it is in our blood, and we are offering to lead you against this threat. But we cannot do it alone. We need ships, resources, soldiers. We need the galaxy to unite." The Thraxian representative rose. She was old for her species, her shell scarred from many battles. "The humans are right," she said. "My people have argued among ourselves for too long, but no more. The Thraxians will fight, we will send our fleets." One by one, other species began to change their positions. The proof from Velari Prime was too clear to ignore. The Devourers had to be stopped. Within a week, the largest fleet in galactic history was being assembled. Ships from 7 different species gathered at a rendezvous point in neutral space. At the head of the fleet was a new human battleship, the Earth's Fury, commanded by Admiral James Chen, Zara's uncle. Admiral Chen addressed the combined fleet via holographic transmission. "Many of you have never fought in a war," he said. "Some of your species have not seen combat in millions of years, but today we all become warriors. Today we fight not for territory or resources, but for survival. The enemy offers us no mercy, so we will give them none. We will drive them back. We will find their source, and we will destroy them utterly. This I promise you." The fleet jumped to the Velari system. When they arrived, they found the Devourers still there, still searching for survivors. The enemy had grown confident. They had not expected resistance. They were wrong. The Battle of Velari Prime lasted for 12 hours. It was the most violent engagement the galaxy had ever seen. Ships exploded. Fighters swarmed. The void of space filled with fire and death. And when it was over, the Devourer fleet had been destroyed. Not a single enemy ship escaped. The combined forces of the galaxy had won their first victory. On the small moon, Zara and the survivors saw the rescue ships descending through the sky. She stood with Cole and watched as transport vessels landed, ready to take the Velari to safety. "We did it," Cole said quietly. "No," Zara replied. "We survived. The real fight is just beginning." She was right. The Devourers had been defeated here, but they were still out there somewhere. The galaxy had united to face the threat, but that unity was fragile. There would be more battles, more sacrifices, more loss. But for the first time, there was also hope. The humans had shown the galaxy how to fight, and now everyone was ready to learn. The months that followed the Battle of Velari Prime were a time of rapid change. The galaxy had been shocked into action, and the united species worked together with a speed that would have been impossible before the invasion. Human military advisors were sent to every world that requested them. They trained soldiers from species who had never held weapons. They designed defensive systems for planets that had never needed protection. They shared knowledge that had been paid for in centuries of human blood. Admiral James Chen became the commander of the combined galactic fleet. It was an unusual position for a human. The other species had older civilizations, more advanced technology, and larger populations. But they recognized that when it came to war, the humans knew best. The Devourers attacked 3 more systems in the following weeks. Each time the galactic fleet responded. Each time the enemy was driven back. But each victory came at a cost. Ships were lost, soldiers died, and the Devourers kept coming. Zara had been promoted to captain and given command of the Righteous Thunder, a new warship built using technology from 5 different species. Her crew was equally diverse. Humans served alongside Thraxians, Velari, and Corvans. They learned each other's strengths and covered each other's weaknesses. Kira had become Zara's aide and translator. The young Velari had changed dramatically since the attack on her homeworld. She was harder now, more focused. She still carried the pistol Zara had given her, and she practiced with it every day. "The Council has new intelligence," Kira reported one morning. "They have found the source of the Devourers." Zara looked up from her console. "Where?" "A planet on the far edge of the galaxy. Our scouts barely made it back alive. They say it is different, covered in the same organic metal material as the Devourers themselves. A homeworld, or a factory, somewhere that produces the Devourers. The scouts estimate that millions of them are being created there every day." Zara felt cold. Millions every day. No matter how many battles they won, the enemy could always make more. They were not fighting an army. They were fighting a machine, an endless process of creation and destruction. "We need to destroy it," Zara said. "Everything else is just delaying the inevitable." The Galactic Council agreed. A massive strike force was assembled, the largest military operation in history. Hundreds of ships from every species gathered at the staging point, ready for the final assault. Admiral Chen briefed the fleet commanders in person. He looked older than Zara remembered, worn down by the weight of his responsibilities, but his voice was still strong. "This will be the most dangerous mission we have ever attempted," he said. "The enemy homeworld is protected by defenses we have never seen. Our casualties will be high. Many of you will not return." He paused, looking at each commander in turn. "But if we succeed, we end this war. We save every planet, every species, every child in the galaxy. That is worth dying for. That is worth everything." The fleet jumped to the Devourer homeworld. What they found was beyond anything they had imagined. The planet was alive. Its entire surface was covered with the organic metal material of the Devourers, pulsing and moving like a single massive organism. Factories the size of continents produced warriors without end. Defensive weapons lined every surface, ready to destroy anything that approached. And in orbit around the planet, was a fleet of devourer ships so large it blotted out the stars. "All ships engage," Admiral Chen ordered. The battle that followed was chaos and terror and courage beyond measure. Ships exploded by the dozens. Fighters died by the hundreds. The galactic forces pushed forward through a storm of death, driven by desperation and hope. Zara guided the righteous thunder through the madness, her crew working as one. They had trained for this. They had bled for this. Now they would win or die trying. "We are breaking through," reported her tactical officer. "The enemy defensive line is failing." It was true. Despite the overwhelming odds, the galactic fleet was winning. The Devourers had built their forces for conquest, not defense. They had never faced an enemy who refused to surrender. The human-led assault broke through to the planet itself. Troop transports descended through the atmosphere, carrying soldiers from every species. They landed on the organic surface and began fighting their way toward the central structure that controlled everything. Captain Cole led the ground assault. His forces included humans, Thraxians, and even a battalion of Velari volunteers who had been training for months. They moved across the alien landscape, destroying everything in their path. "The central structure is ahead," Cole reported. "We are almost there." The heart of the Devourer network was a massive tower of twisted metal and organic matter. From it, signals spread to every Devourer in existence, controlling their actions, directing their attacks. If it could be destroyed, the entire network would collapse. But the defenders were thick around the tower. Wave after wave of Devourers threw themselves at the attackers, trying to stop them. Soldiers fell. The advance slowed. "We need more support," Cole said over the communication system. "We cannot break through alone." In orbit, Zara heard the message. She looked at her crew, at the damaged ship around her, at the impossible battle outside, and she made her decision. "Take us down," she ordered. "We are joining the ground assault." "Captain, the ship cannot survive atmospheric entry in this condition," her pilot protested. "It does not need to survive. It just needs to get us there." The righteous thunder plunged through the atmosphere, its hull burning, its systems failing. But it held together long enough. The ship crashed into the Devourer forces near the central tower, crushing hundreds of them and creating a gap in their defenses. Zara led her crew out of the wreckage and joined the ground assault. Together with Cole's forces, they pushed toward the tower. Fighting was hand-to-hand now, brutal and desperate. Kira was at Zara's side, firing her pistol at every enemy that appeared. The Velari, who had never known violence, fought with the fury of someone who had lost everything. They reached the base of the tower. Engineers from multiple species began setting charges. The Devourers attacked with terrible intensity, sensing the threat to their heart. "Hold them back," Zara shouted. "Buy us time." The defenders formed a ring around the engineers, fighting off wave after wave of attackers. Soldiers died, but more stepped forward to take their places. The charges were set, the timers activated. "Fall back," Cole ordered. "Everyone fall back." The survivors ran. Behind them, the tower exploded in a massive fireball that lit up the entire planet. The shockwave knocked everyone off their feet, and then silence fell. The Devourers stopped. Every one of them, across the entire planet and throughout the galaxy, simply froze in place. Without the central control signal, they were nothing but empty shells. Zara lay on the ground, looking up at the sky. Ships from the galactic fleet were descending, rescue transports coming to collect the survivors. She could not believe they had actually done it. Cole crawled over to her. His armor was cracked, his face bloody, but he was smiling. "We won," he said. "We won," Zara agreed. Around them, soldiers from a dozen different species were cheering, crying, embracing each other. Former enemies had become allies. Strangers had become friends. The galaxy had been united by the threat of extinction, and together they had overcome it. In the weeks that followed, The remains of the Devourer network were studied by scientists from across the galaxy. They discovered that the Devourers had indeed been created as weapons, millions of years ago, by a species that had long since died out. The Devourers had drifted through the void for ages dormant, until something had awakened them and set them on their path of destruction. No one knew what had awakened them, and perhaps it did not matter. What mattered was that they were gone now, their threat ended forever. The Galactic Council built a monument on Velari Prime, a reminder of what had been lost and what had been saved. The names of the fallen were carved into its surface, thousands of names from every species. At the dedication ceremony, Admiral Chen spoke to the gathered representatives. "We came from different worlds," he said. "We spoke different languages. We had different histories, different values, different dreams. But when extinction came for us all, we found that we had one thing in common: the will to survive." He paused, looking at the monument. "The humans taught you how to fight, but you taught us something in return. You taught us that we are not alone, that we are part of something bigger than ourselves, that together we are stronger than any threat." Zara stood in the crowd, Kira beside her. The Velari woman had become a leader among her people, helping them rebuild their civilization on new worlds. She would never forget what she had lost, but she had found something new as well: a purpose, a family, a future. "What happens now?" Kira asked. Zara considered the question. The galaxy was at peace again, but peace was fragile. There would be other threats, other challenges. The unity they had built would need to be maintained, strengthened, grown. "Now we build," Zara said. "We make sure that what we created in war survives in peace. We teach our children what we learned, and we stay ready always for whatever comes next." The ceremony ended, and the representatives returned to their worlds. The ships departed, the stars came out, and the galaxy turned on as it always had. But something had changed, something fundamental, something permanent. The species of the galaxy no longer saw themselves as separate, competing civilizations. They saw themselves as one people, one family, one future. And at the heart of that future were the humans, the warriors who had refused to run, who had taught a galaxy how to fight, and who had helped everyone understand that courage was the greatest weapon of all. Years later, when children asked about the war, their parents told them the story of the human ship that had faced an armada alone. They told them about the commander who had landed on a burning world to save strangers. They told them about the soldiers who had walked into certain death because it was the right thing to do. And the children listened and learned and remembered, because the story was not just about war. It was about what it meant to be truly alive, to stand for something, to fight for something beyond yourself. That was the gift the humans gave the galaxy, not just survival but meaning, not just victory but hope. And hope in the end was enough.